You don't have to play video games for long to realize that they're not perfect. In fact, it seems like the only thing gamers love more than playing games is complaining about them. Sometimes those complaints are totally justified. In this video, we're going to look at some of the worst characters ever to appear in video games. These are characters that don't fit with the rest, or that are so annoying that they have no place in the otherwise excellent games that they're in. Before we begin, be sure to let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, subscribe to the channel and hit the notify button so you can stay on top of all the latest content from the gamer. Quiet from Metal Gear Solid 5. Before Metal Gear Solid 5 even launched, many fans questioned this outfit worn by Quiet. Why was she hardly wearing any clothes? Who in their right mind would head into combat in a getup that provides no protection at all? Series creator Hideo Kojima first took to Twitter to explain he wanted Quiet to look sexy to encourage fan cosplay and to spur figurine sales. The following week, Kojima changed his tune. Again on Twitter, he defended Quiet's design, saying that there was a perfectly reasonable explanation for her outfit. He said to critics, and I quote, "Once you recognize the secret reason for her exposure, you will feel ashamed of your words and deeds." Surely the reason must have been good, right? Well, not so much. Turns out Quiet, who never says a word in the game, at least not in English, breathes through her skin. Therefore, wearing a full set of clothes would make her suffocate. The explanation didn't satisfy the critics, but by the time the game launched, it didn't really matter anymore. Quiet was out there in the world, breathing through her very exposed skin. Tingle in the Zelda series. One glance at Tingle, and it becomes painfully obvious that this character was a mistake. I mean, just look at him! He's a short, pudgy man closing in on middle age, and he dresses himself in a bad fairy costume. Why would anyone do that? Well, because he's convinced that he's a forest fairy. Meanwhile, back home, his father keeps harping on him to give up his fantasy and act like an adult. Obviously, that kind of a turnaround is not in Tingle's future. First introduced in Majora's Mask in 2000, Tingle has appeared in entirely too many Zelda games over the years, including Wind Waker and a whole mess of handheld installments. Why? Why do they keep bringing back this sad, confused character? He has his uses, seeing as he sells linked maps. But anyone can sell maps. Give the regular shopkeeper a pile of maps. Have the old lady down the road sell maps. Stick them in a treasure chest. Any other possible way to distribute maps would be better. Just leave Tingle out of it. Baby Mario in Yoshi's Island. Adult Mario can be annoying enough, what with his yelps and woohoos and his cartoonish Italian accent. But shrink him down to a baby as Nintendo did in Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, and you reach a whole new level of annoying. In this game, you control Yoshi, Mario's lovable pet dinosaur. The hitch is that Yoshi has to carry Baby Mario on his back through the entire game. Now, this might not be a problem, but Nintendo went out of its way to make Baby Mario as annoying as possible. Every time you take damage in Yoshi's Island, Baby Mario floats off of Yoshi's back in a bubble. You have a limited amount of time to catch him or else it's game over. The problem is that the entire time that Baby Mario's in the bubble, he screams his little lungs out while a high-pitched beeping sound rattles on in the background. Apparently, Nintendo wants to annoy you into chasing Baby Mario down. It's a testament to how great this game is that Baby Mario's incessant wailing isn't a deal breaker. Any game that can overcome something this aggravating is one for the ages. Raiden from Metal Gear Solid 2. Konami knew it had a major hit on its hands after the original Metal Gear Solid became a smashing success. For the sequel, everyone expected more of the same, which is to say more crazy espionage adventures starring Solid Snake. What Konami delivered was one of the most infamous bait and switches in gaming history. After a brief introductory mission that has you playing as Solid Snake, Metal Gear Solid 2 puts players in control of a whiny, inexperienced newcomer called Raiden. Unfortunately, you're stuck playing as Raiden for the rest of the game. What makes Raiden such a drag? It's not only his whiny voice and annoying dialogue, it's not even his willingness to run around nude. It's that he's not the character everyone wants to play as. Solid Snake. Konami must have realized Raiden was a problem because the character doesn't appear at all in Metal Gear Solid 3. And yes, we know about Ivan Raidenovich Rykov. If Raiden has any fans out there, it's probably because they later turned him into a cyborg ninja and gave him a starring role in Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Maybe other games on this list should take note. Turn your regrettable characters into cyborg ninjas and there might be hope for them yet. Daxter from Jak and Daxter. It all started in the PS1 generation, when Crash Bandicoot became the console's unofficial mascot. When PlayStation 2 rolled around, Naughty Dog left Crash behind to work on a new series, Jak and Daxter. This colorful duo runs, jumps, and punches their way through 3 wonderful action platformer games. The levels are designed to be challenging yet fun to explore, and the gameplay changes often enough that you'll never get bored. There's just one problem: Daxter. This annoying rodent sits on Jak's shoulder throughout most of the games and makes non-stop wisecracks during cutscenes. He's a tiresome creature that just won't shut up. His dialogue isn't funny, but even if it were, it would still be annoying thanks to Daxter's shrill voice, which never goes quieter than a scream. Naughty Dog must have been trying to appeal to kids with this tiny sidekick, but his constant chatter is off-putting for everyone else. Judging by the excellent writing and voice work in later games like Uncharted and The Last of Us, it seems that Naughty Dog learned their lesson. Irish in Red Dead Redemption. Rockstar has been satirizing our modern world for many years with its brilliant Grand Theft Auto series, but when the developer turned its eye to the American past with Red Dead Redemption, it did so with a surprising amount of sincerity. Instead of wicked satire, we got gorgeous, wide-open spaces to explore on horseback. We got a story about a criminal trying to turn his life around so he could spend his remaining days with his family. We got a memorable cast of characters that we loved spending time with one exception: Irish. In the lovingly crafted world of Red Dead Redemption, Irish stands out like a sore trigger finger. As you've probably guessed, he hails from Ireland, a fact that is impossible to ignore seeing as he's a stereotypical Irish drunk whose brogue is so thick you can hardly understand a word he says. He's also lazy, a fact that's underscored every time you take a job to help him. He always says he'll have your back, but when the bullets start whizzing by, he's nowhere to be found. Irish is too much of a caricature in an otherwise smartly crafted game. Maybe Rockstar should have put him on a boat back to Ireland. Navi from The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Sure, we already harped on Zelda earlier with Tingle, but for as great as these games are, they sure can be stuffed with annoying sidekicks. Take Navi from The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Widely considered one of the best games ever made, Ocarina was a stunning achievement at the time. It proved that you could take a game formula that worked in 2D and bring it to 3D without losing anything. Ocarina has everything that makes earlier games in the series great, and it does it in a wide-open 3D environment. The one thing that they got wrong, aside from the frustrating Water Temple dungeon, was introducing the nagging pest Navi the Fairy. The game kicks off with the Great Deku Tree asking Navi to accompany Link on his quest, and she does this dutifully. The problem is that she's constantly butting in when you're just trying to enjoy the game. She can't seem to stop herself from butting in and chatting your ear off every few minutes with phrases like, "Hey, listen," and "Watch out." Maybe in some future release of the game, they'll give you an option to leave Navi behind. Probably won't happen, but we can dream, right? SHEVA ALOMAR from Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 5 was designed as a cooperative game, with 2 players working together to gun down hordes of zombies. But in the all-too-likely event that you don't have a friend who wants to drop into your game, you'll be playing alone, which means SHEVA, your in-game partner, is controlled by AI. Incredibly dumb AI. SHEVA treats ammo like it grows on trees. She'll unload on enemies you've got handled while ignoring the other ones posing a threat in the room. She rarely uses healing herbs at the right time either. Instead, she either wastes them too early or doesn't use them at all and lets you die. Wasting resources may not be a problem in other games, but this is a survival horror game, so it's stingy with supplies. You have to conserve them, which she has no inclination to do. Overall, SHEVA's a liability in the game, and with mobs of zombies always nipping at your heels, players could really use an asset. Mr. RESETTI in Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is Nintendo's most laid-back series. These games take place in idyllic towns where nothing much ever happens. Players simply go about their business, checking their mail, chatting with neighbors, pulling weeds, and decorating their houses. There's no real goal, so your experience is whatever you make of it. Because the series began before autosave became a standard feature in video games, it was always important for players to save before turning their games off. So, in an effort to encourage Animal Crossing players to save their games, Nintendo introduced Mr. RESETTI, a mole whose sole purpose was to annoy you when you forgot to save. Unfortunately for everyone, Mr. RESETTI's presence is incredibly grating. His purpose is simple, but his lines of dialogue are endlessly long. He also gets angry and yells at you and threatens to delete your game if you keep forgetting to save. A former Nintendo president said he heard stories of little girls crying because they were scared of Mr. RESETTI. Really, there's no reason for such a character to exist in a laid-back series like Animal Crossing. Go bug someone else, you mean mole. Lara Croft in early Tomb Raider games. The Lara Croft that existed in the 1990s was a somewhat embarrassing creation. With her generous proportions and tiny waists, she was obviously made to fuel the fantasies of adolescent boys. And it worked! The Tomb Raider franchise was so successful it churned out nearly a game a year between 1996 and 2010. But there were obvious problems with this portrayal of Miss Croft that went even beyond her measurements. One was the outfits she'd wear, which often made no sense in the context of her missions. She'd often be trudging through snow while still wearing shorts. How do we know the Tomb Raider developers regretted the depiction of Lara Croft in those games? Well, because they rebooted the series in 2013 and eliminated those problems. The 2013 game, simply called Tomb Raider, finally delivers a non-sleazy take on the character of Lara Croft. Here, she's realistically proportioned and dresses appropriately for the situation she gets herself into. It doesn't erase the original games from memory, but it deserves kudos for finally making Lara Croft a realistic heroine. So what do you think of our picks for regrettable video game characters? We hope you enjoyed the video, so let us hear your thoughts in the comments. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our content in the future. Thanks for watching!